Hey there, Nick Janatakis here. In this video, we're going to go over amending or changing git commits. This could be anything from changing the git commit message on the previous commit, all the way to doing an interactive rebase where we go back to, let's say, 5 commits ago, and then we make some change to that commit by maybe adding a new file or altering one of the files there, perhaps even changing the git commit message as well. So this is stuff I do all the time in local development before I push my code up, because what we're talking about here is rewriting history. So you should really try to do this stuff before you push your code up, although technically you can use the force flag if you are in a serious pinch. But yeah, while developing locally, I find myself just committing code pretty frequently, but as you probably know, it's really hard to figure out like the perfect git commit message or exactly what files belong to a specific commit, especially if you're actively developing a project, right? So you could totally be working on a feature where you think you might have committed all the correct stuff, right? All the right files and whatnot. But then 2 hours later, you realize like, you know what? I really need to go back like 7 commits ago and just add these 2 files there. So that's the type of use case we're going to cover here. But this code that we're going to go over now is the source code to my Build a SaaS App with Flask course. And it is available on GitHub here. I'll leave a link to that one in the description. So, if you're looking at the commit history for everything online there, then that's what we're going to be looking at here. So let me just bring up the history now. And by the way, I should mention that we're going to do all of this through the command line, just using the Git client, no fancy aliases, no fancy tools. So this is the Git log for the project. And about a week and a half ago, I made a very, very big update to this course where I just re-recorded, I don't know, like 5.5 hours of videos live where, I was doing all these Git commits here. And I found myself while doing this before I actually pushed it up to the repo, I had to go back and amend some commits because I forgot to do something because, that's what happens in real life. So, we're going to kind of make a silly example for this video here. Like I'm going to go back and make some changes to these commits, but these are actual changes that I don't want to actually commit. So, that's why I'm in my temp directory here, because I'm going to blow out this whole entire project or folder once I'm done with this video. But let's start with the most basic case here in the Git log, right? So this previous commit, like the last commit that I made, was like update docs to fix formatting, 1 extra word was hanging on the 4th line. So this is a pretty good git commit message, but let's just say for argument's sake that we wanted to modify this message to be something else. Maybe your project manager looked at your work and before you actually pushed it up and he's like, wow, you can't use the word docs there. It needs to be documentation, right? So update documentation to fix formatting. Cool. So let's do that. So that one's actually very, very easy. We can just do, git commit, and then we can use the amend flag here, saying that we're going to be amending the last commit there. And then we can just put in a message here and type what we want. Or we can just do this and then have Vim open the file here, or whatever your code editor is for setting the git commit editor. And then from here, we can just be like, okay, cool. Let's say update documentation here. Documentation, there we go. Everything is spelled correctly. And then we can just save that. And then there we go. We just amended that commit. And if I do another git log here, we can see that now it says update documentation to fix formatting and everything is good to go. Notice how there's not like a second commit for this, right? We amended that one commit. But now let's say that maybe you want to amend this commit by actually altering what was commit, right? So if I copy this git SHA here and we do a git show here on that SHA, we're going to show the SHA, then we can see exactly what changed, right? It was just this one little bit of documentation here where, this was the old paragraph and now this is the new paragraph. And really, I just reworded the paragraph to be slightly shorter because on GitHub for the README file, 1 extra word was hanging off and I just didn't like that. That's not super important for the sake of this video. So now I'm going to open up a new window here just so we have Vim open, and I'm going to make a very minor change to this README file, right? So the changes I'm making are pretty silly now, but let's just say for argument's sake that you wanted to add some more documentation to this file and include that as part of the commit. So there we go, we made our changes, and I'm going to go back here. And if we run a git status, we should see that, hey, we made a change to this README file, but we need to stage those changes, right? So we can do a git add p here, and you could also do like a git add a, or you can do git add readme. But I had that other video in the past about git add p, and you know that I like that a lot because now we can see exactly what is being changed here, or set to be staged. So yeah, let's agree to this change here because it also gives you a good chance to read your work, right? So we did that. Now we do a git status, and we can see, cool, everything is ready to be commit here. But we don't just want to make an actual commit because then that's going to create a new commit. What we actually want to do is amend that previous commit. So we can just go back to this amend command that we ran before. And, let's just say this time around, we are totally happy with the original git commit message that we had. So we can just add this other flag here called no edit, and that's going to allow us to amend that previous commit and it won't even prompt us to adjust the message at all. So, if we do a get log here again, we can see that, update documentation to fix formatting is there. There's no extra commits there. And we just amended this one commit, but we didn't change the message. So that's what the no edit flag allows you to do. So, takeaway there is git commit, and then it's just the amend flag to change the previous commit, and then optionally also the no edit flag to not change the message at the same time. But, if I do another git show on this SHA, then we can see here that it is what it is, right? The latest changes that we created. And notice too that the SHA is actually different than what it was before. That's not too important of a detail. Well, I mean, it's worth noting that, but yeah, just make sure to note that when you do make an amendment there, the SHA is going to change. So that is the simple use case, right? And by the way, we could do all sorts of stuff here too, right? Like if you wanted to touch another file here and just add that, and then you can just do another amend here, and then we do a get log, and we can see this SHA here, it changed again, just as another example, and we do a get show. Then we can also see here that we touched a new file. If I go down here somewhere, there we go, new file foo, right? So this is not just like modifying the only file that you happen to be modifying in that one commit, right? You can add files, you can remove files. You basically have full control over, staging whatever you want. So that's going to take care of, the quote unquote easy use case, right? Altering the previous commit. But now let's take a look here at this git log. And, let's say that, instead of editing this previous commit, what you really want to do is maybe edit this commit here, right? Which is a couple of commits back. So we're not going to be able to use the git commit command for that one. We're going to have to do an interactive rebase. Now, maybe there are other ways to do this, but, this is the way I'm most comfortable with. And, I've seen this being posted all sorts of different places on the interwebs. So here we go, right? So let's just say we want to change this commit. So let me copy this commit message here, or SHA, I should say, just so we have an idea of like what this commit looks like, right? Again, not very important for the sake of this video, like the contents of what's being commit, but this is a commit that altered, all sorts of different files. We changed health check names, we added some tests and whatnot. So now let's make that amendment. But before that, I'm going to run a git status just so we can see here that there is nothing to commit, right? Our tree is totally clean. There's nothing to be staged. But I understand in real life, like maybe you want to go back and make your amendment, but right now you have like 7 files that aren't commit yet, but you don't want to lose all of that work. So we are going to tackle that use case in a bit, but let's go over doing a very basic interactive rebase before we get into that. Now, this command that we're going to be running, this interactive rebase command, it will expect us to pass in the git SHA that we want to amend. And there's 2 ways to get this, right? We can run a git log, and then we can just copy the SHA that we'd like, or we can reference it using the head tilde shortcut, where you can do head tilde and then you put a number down. So for example, this commit, we can just reference this one as commit number 1. So this would be commit number 2, 3, 4. So we could technically do head tilde 4 to get this specific SHA, or specifically this commit message itself. And, I guess the takeaway here is it's up to you on how you want to do that. Sometimes it's easier if you're on like the first page of output and you just know like it's this one here. So you could be, yep, head tilde 3, or you can just grab the commit. It's up to you. But yeah, when it starts to get a little bit crazy where, you're paging down multiple pages, like slowly counting them, and you're like, 38 like commits down, it's a lot easier just to grab the commit SHA because you know exactly what you're getting. And also, when we run this get rebase interactive command, this is where we're going to pass in the thing that we want. So this is going to be either the get SHA or like the head tilde 4, like this, like whatever you want. And, let's just actually do it with head tilde 4, just so we can see both in action. You can pick and choose which one you want to use. But when you run head tilde 4 there, we can see here, refactor and improve health check. That is the thing that we want to edit here. Ignore all this stuff for now. We're going to get to that in a second here. But likewise, if you want to run it with the SHA instead, and there's a very important takeaway with this one. Notice how when we just put the SHA in and hit enter, then that commit actually is not here, right? It used to be the health check one, but it's no longer there. When you put in the SHA, you actually need to put the caret here because the caret is going to reference the parent commit. So when you put that in, we can see the refactor and health check one is here. It's back in business. So, just remember the caret at the end because it's very important. But now, this is the real takeaway, right? This is starting the interactive rebase. And this command allows you to do all sorts of stuff here, right? All these different commands that you can do, but we're not going to focus on any of them except for this one here where we're going to be editing a specific commit. So what we need to do here is we need to change this pick word to be edit, or technically like E also works, but when it comes to this stuff, I like to be super explicit. So I just put in the edit. And yeah, I mean, again, there's all sorts of other stuff. Maybe I'll make future videos about that one. But for now, this is the commit that we want to edit. And by the way, before I actually pull the trigger on this one, if you just close out this, right, I'm just quitting here and not doing anything, then you can just go back and rerun the command. So if you screwed up by putting the wrong commit SHA or something, it's very easy just to get the right one, right? And there we go. And technically, this doesn't need to be on the top. Like you can always do an older commit and then, decide that we want to edit this one. Cool, then you can just do that instead. But let me just go ahead and do this for now, and we'll go to edit. And then all we have to do is save the file. And now it's really important to pay attention to the branch that we're currently on. So this actually says that we're not on a branch, we are rebasing master. And this branch output is part of my dot files. I don't think I've done a video on that one specifically, but it's in my bash RC file. I'll link to that one as well. But this is the branch that we're on. And if you run get branch, in case you don't have that notifier there, then you can see the output of all the branches there, and you can see the current branch that you're on with the star there. So now we are basically ready to do an interactive rebase. And if I do a get log now, notice the output, right? This actually is pointing now to the head. There's one commit that we actually want to modify here. So from our point of view at this point, it's sort of like we just, went back in time, and this is the state of the Git tree, and we can start making the changes that we want. So if I do a get status here, we can see that we're currently doing a rebase here. You don't need to read all the stuff, but it's clean basically is the outcome there. But now let's go ahead and make some of our changes here. I don't know, it's not super important to follow along like with this actual source code, but let's just say for argument's sake, you wanted to change that file. Maybe I went to the Docker file and I just added like another comment here, just so we have a couple of different files that we wanted to modify as part of this new commit here. So now if we run a get status, then we can see that we have, some of these things aren't staged yet for commit. So this is still very similar to what you normally would do when you're not rebasing. So we could just do git add p again and be like, okay, cool, that's what we want. Okay, great, that's what we want too. And then I can do another get status here, and we can see that these are staged to be commit. And we can sort of combine what we did before with the amend. So now we just do git commit amend, and we can choose to either possibly edit the message as well, or maybe we don't want to do it as well. So let's do the no edit here, because let's just say that we want to keep the message the same. We can do that, and we can actually see here too in the output of this command for git status, it says we can just run a git commit amend, and that's basically what we're doing here, except we're throwing in no edit there just to not edit the message, just like we did before. So when we do that, then we can see that we've made a change there. And then the last thing we need to do here, which we can just follow their docs here, is to say, okay, cool. So when we're done, we can do a git rebase continue. And since we're satisfied with our changes, right? And we can do that. It's going to rebase successfully, hopefully. And we can see now that we are back on the master branch. And if I run a git log, then, we can see that we are back to business to where we were before. There's the update documentation commit, and there's our refactor health check one. But notice now that this commit SHA changed, and if I run a git show on this one, and then we start scrolling down, we can see the new change there. We just rewrote history, and we did a first successful amendment. Excellent. And again, we could have repeated that process and, not put this no edit flag, and you could change the git commit message, and it would be really, really nice. But before we go into the other use case of like having files that were modified, but you don't necessarily want them to be part of the rebase, there is one thing to go over here too when you're doing a rebase. So let's go back to git log, and let's just say again for fun, like whatever, this SHA is the one that we're going to rebase, because this stuff really comes down to like muscle memory, right? The more times you do this stuff, it's going to become second nature. So let's interactively rebase this one, put the caret at the end there, and then things are good here. Yep, let's do this one, edit that one, great. Right, quit, cool. And now let's just say, you're back in here and you added some stuff, and cool, everything is good. But and now when we do a get status, maybe you think like, well, on second thought, maybe I don't want to do this rebase at all. Maybe I'm just going to do something else, right? Because this also comes up all the time. So you can actually just run a git rebase abort, and that is going to totally wipe out the rebase as if, it's not going to implement anything. And we can see here, we're back on the master branch. And if I do a git log, then everything is what it was before. And I think it was this one that I grabbed, the 4.7, whatever, was it? Yeah. So, if I do a git show here on this one, then, we didn't go over this one before, but there's no changes basically. So yeah, that's basically how you can just abort doing that, because that's also, and by the way, sometimes, these branches don't get updated on your prompt in real time. You can just hit Control-C or whatever for that to update. But yeah, that's how you can actually do a rebase, abort doing a rebase. But now let's do another use case here where you might have like a file here, maybe let me open up Vim here. We'll do another change to the README file. I don't know, whatever. More documentation changes here, even though this is like an actual markdown file. So that's actually a documentation line. And then if we do a get status here, we can see that, these changes are all staged, right? But we don't want to have these as part of our amendment. So what we can do is take advantage of the get stash. So we can do get stash here and just stash those changes. And if we do get status, then we can see that, these are all untracked, and, any changes that we had here for the README file aren't going to be reflected. And if I actually go back here and open this README file in Vim, that one line here that we had, the one with like the fake README comment there for the markdown, it's not there because we stashed it. So now we are free to do our get log here, grab this. Well, actually, we're going to do the head, right? So get rebase interactive, and then I can do head ~2, and then we can just change this to be edit, right quit, and then, maybe for this specific commit, you just want to touch, I don't know, like another file here, or maybe, well, I had Vim open in this one. So if I go here, like, I don't know, go to the Docker Compose override example file, cool, like target, blah, blah, blah. This is totally not valid syntax here, but, you made your changes like that. And then we can do a get status here. We can do get add p on the Docker file here. Great, that's good. And then we can also do get status. Well, technically it's already there, visible on the top, but we can see also maybe we want to, get add another file because that's the file, but the hello file we don't want there, right? So now we can do a get status once more, just on the top of the screen, and we can see what we need to do, right? We can do a get commit, and we can do amend, but this time, let's say we also maybe wanted to change this to be, I don't know, 2050, right? Because we're in the future for whatever reason. And then we made that amend there, and then we can just do get rebase continue, and it's going to rebase successfully. Cool. So we do a get log, and we can see the update copy rate to 2050. If I go and do a get show on this one, then there's the changes that we had. We also have the new file probably somewhere on the bottom. No? Oh, there it is, another file. Great. But if I do a get status here, we are back to where this other file isn't here. And now, remember, we did the get stash, but now we can just do a get stash pop to pop this out of the stash back into our working tree. And we can see that we are back to this modified README file here. And if I go back to Vim, then I'm going to go into the README file, and we can see that one fake comment is back there. Also, let me get this back to the master branch. There we go. And cool, we're back in business, right? So now it's like all these changes that we did before, they're back, they're not commit anywhere, and we can continue working on them doing, basically whatever we want. So, that's a very quick rundown, or I guess maybe, I don't know how long this is going to be, like a 20-minute video, but that's a rundown on amending commits, right? I feel like this is a really valuable tool to have in your arsenal because as a developer and using version control and Git specifically, it's really nice to be able to do all this stuff. So with that said, if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up because it really helps. If you have any comments or maybe improvements on this workflow, let me know. I'm happy to answer any questions or, take feedback and whatnot. So with that said, thanks a lot for watching, and I will see you in the next video.